Industrial Utopia versus Cabot Lowell Mill Factory versus the George Pullman Palace Car Company. Francis Cabot Lowell Mill Factory, 1840s. Lowell, Massachusetts was a town founded in the 1820s by a man named Francis Cabot Lowell, whose company, the Boston Manufacturing Company, created textile mills to produce products from cotton. The factory town was revolutionary for its time because it housed a workforce of mainly women and young children. The workers were preferred to be from a farming background, so they were efficient loom operators. Women that worked the factories felt a sense of freedom from parental authority and were able to make their own money and would have a variety of educational opportunities they normally would not.
Women began to see the problems of working in the factory, including the 13-hour days and poor working conditions. In 1834, when bosses were forced to cut wages, the women were fed up and began a mass strike, marching to many other mills in the town and building up a crowd. Unfortunately, the strike was shut down by management before any results were acquired. Another attempt was made 2 years later, but the results were the same.
The women finally got what they deserved many years later in the form of political action. A group of female workers formed the Lowell Female Reform Association in an attempt to lower workday hours to just 10 hours maximum. Although it did not work for their state, in 1847, New Hampshire became the first state to pass a 10-hour workday law. The George Pullman Palace Car Company, 1890s. The company was founded by George Mortimer Pullman, an influential industrialist that saw the necessity of comfort and luxury in railroad travel in the 1800s. He crafted this vision with sleeping cars, dining cars, and even parlor cars that could make travel easier for the modern person. By 1890, the company was operating over 2,135 railroad vehicles and a whopping 160,000 miles of track around the United States. The company also had a workforce of 12,367 employees, all living in Pullman, Chicago, a company-built town. The economic panic of 1893 caused many workers to initiate a strike for higher wages and better working conditions. Due to Pullman having to lower wages by 25%, eliminate jobs and force longer hours, but not changing the already high rent costs and other charges. The boycott strike grew to such heights that it is seen as one of the most serious labor revolts in American history, involving both the Pullman workers and eventually even migrating to the American Railway Union and Eugene and Debs. It caused railway traffic to virtually paralyze. President Grover Cleveland was forced to call in federal troops to force the workers to return to their jobs. Amid the crisis, June 28th, President Cleveland created Labor Day as a gesture toward our American labor movement. Similarities. Both were major boycotts and strikes that are seen as two of the most progressive labor movements in American history. Both didn't achieve much at the time, however, made noticeable impacts later on for labor laws. Both boycotts and strikes were results of a cut in pay, high unemployment, or extension of work hours. Both the Lowell Mill Factory and Pullman Car Company were initially seen as revolutionary and generous companies, however had their reputations ruined by the strikes and their behavior towards them. Both strikes were broken by either management or federal troops respectively. Differences. The Lowell Mill Factory didn't have a notable or distinctive leader of the strike as opposed to Pullman with Eugene V. Debs, a notable leader in different railroad company labor movements. While the Pullman strike was violent, the Lowell strike was more of a peaceful protest, an attempt to fix things. The Pullman strike had more support from exterior sources that didn't work with the company as opposed to the Lowell Mill strike because they saw it as a threat to traditional womanly values. The Lowell strike mainly fought for better working hours, while the Pullman strike fought for mainly better working conditions. The greatest impact was the Pullman strike because the strike stopped most trade west of the Chicago area for a major length of time. The first strike in history to have been broken up by federal troops. The strike showed many people how impactful strikes and boycotts can actually be, compared to most prior that had little to no results. The Pullman strike resulted in the creation of Labor Day, a day off school each year.